Heard this with a David Bowie song on Heroes. It's unfortunate that the sound system does not allow it, but speaking of heroes, I think those that we have to applaud is those who make this festival possible. I've been here now at this festival for 4 years, and I really think this is a great voice for debate, dialogue, and tolerance. So Razi, Ahmed, Nusrat, and all those who make this festival possible are fantastic heroes, and I think they deserve a great round of applause. Who would know that organizing a literature festival can be so complicated? So I hope that we're going to be back next year to the Alhambra, and I'm very, very pleased that you're here, and that I hope you can also be the voices of this festival, the promoters of this festival. So today, I'm extremely proud to have five extraordinary young Pakistani to talk about Pakistan. But why are we speaking about Pakistan's youth? First, because Pakistan is extremely young. 64% of Pakistan is below 30 years old. And whatever happens to these young people be disastrous for Pakistan. Pakistan will grow, its young people will grow until 2035, and after that, Pakistan will grow twice faster than most Western countries. So whatever we will do for young people in the next 40 years will determine the future of Pakistan. So that's why we thought that a conversation about Pakistan youth was so important. And the five people that I have here today have been extraordinary leaders in their field. They've shown resilience. They've been bright lights and examples for the entire country. So we thought of asking them a few questions about their experience, and we hope that this inspires many of you in doing the same. So let me present them very quickly. We have Nawab Saada Saifullah Magzi, who's the youngest ever senator to be elected at the age of 30. He's from Balochistan, has also been minister PND for a short period of time in Balochistan. We have Gulalai Ismail, who has co-founded an extraordinary organization called Aware Girls in Peshawar, empowering young women and doing a lot of civic education, entrepreneurship for women. Amazing work that she's been doing in Peshawar. We have Vakas Ali. Vakas is extremely young. It's ridiculous. He's very young. I won't even say his age. But Vakas has turned a project in his hometown of Marcor into a global corporation. He's now selling the shoes from Marcor in 41 countries and has an office in San Francisco. We have Muzamil Hassan Zaidi. I've had the pleasure of sharing stage with him in TEDx in Islamabad. Muzamil does extraordinary work on social media, voter education campaign out of his living room in Karachi. It was in Islamabad, sorry. But also, if you've seen his work, he's created Lol Studio that does amazing social awareness campaigns online, and a great force for change. And finally, but not the least, Sana Mir, our captain of the cricket women's team of Pakistan. Sana became captain at 23 years old. A lot of responsibility for a young woman, and I don't need to tell all of you, you're all into the Pakistan Super League festival at the moment. A friend of mine was telling me, what would Pakistan do when the Super League ends? I don't know what we're going to do. So Sana has been a great leader, a great voice for women in unconventional functions or jobs, so she'll speak to us today about her experience. Wonderful. So let me start right away. And Sana, you're going to get the first question. We did a survey, and the national survey that we've carried out on the aspiration of youth shows that over 55% of young Pakistanis say that they're not better off than their parents were in terms of livelihood. Either they're the same or worse than their parents were. And so there seems to be very little hope in terms of social mobility. Why do you think that is, and what has been your experience, Sana, in your field?
It's quite sad, the kind of facts you're telling us, and I think it's not very shocking for me, but I think it's the saturation of people in similar fields, because now Pakistan is opening up. Now people are ready to experience their professional lives in different fields. So I think that saturation is about to get better. I think hopefully things are going to get better, and my personal experience, I would say, has been very positive in this regard. Because coming into cricket at a time when it was not a professional sport for girls, so initially it was quite tough, but in 2010, after we won the Asian gold medal, Pakistan Cricket Board gave us jobs to play cricket, like we get paid to play cricket only. That's something very good, and there's a new field now. And now, initially there were only one department, around 15 to 20 girls who were getting paid. Now we have got 4 to 5 different departments where the girls can go and play cricket and earn money from there. So the kind of people that come into cricket, they usually come from middle class or low middle class families. So I think this kind of survey is, I have not seen that. I think they are better off than their parents and their siblings by playing cricket. So that those are the people I engage with, and that's not useful for the girls who play cricket.
I like people that contradict you in surveys. Muzammil, what has been your experience?
I would probably agree with you on that, primarily because we've seen a lot of people on social media doing the same thing. There's a lot of negativity. I think one of the major reasons why that's happening is a lot of access to information that has been happening in the past 10 years in Pakistan, but the wrong set of information. So what you're effectively doing is you're basically telling people all sorts of things about what they could be, but not how they could be. You're constantly looking at the first world, you're constantly looking at other people's stories, success stories, stories that they can't connect with. It's actually very interesting that the topic of the talk was we can be heroes, right? But interestingly enough, in Pakistan, we don't create heroes. We don't have any heroes. Our heroes, when we were children, our heroes were, either military men with Nishan-e-Haidars. So all of us aspired to be either going to the military or the PAF, or at max we had cricketers and that's great. But we don't have a lot of entrepreneur heroes. We don't have a lot of artist heroes. We don't have people who an average Pakistani sitting in a village can aspire to be, other than either cricketer or an army person. So I would agree with that survey, and I think again my personal opinion is probably because of a lack of the right sort of information going to people, or the right sort of opportunity, or a right projection of opportunity where they can actually aspire, they can actually dream. The American dream, in Pakistan, we actually sit here and actually see the American dream in our colleges and our schools. We hear stories about Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, but we don't hear stories about, probably people in Pakistan who've done amazing things, who've become really successful, and I think that's one of the reasons why.
So to have hope, you need heroes, you need mentors, you need people to aspire with.
Yeah.
Bakas, what do you think about this result? Is it right in your experience, all this lack of hope and aspiration of young people in Pakistan?
I would not strongly
Microphone's not working.
I would not strongly disagree with that. So I think there are two ways to look at this. The first is, most young people, when they get to an age where they start knowing where they are and where they wanted to be and where they need to be, and they cannot connect those aspirations with the reality. The main reason is because someone in their family couldn't do the right thing for them, which was mainly education, the right counseling at the early age. And the second thing is, the narrative in Pakistan of success is mostly associated with people who are either extremely rich or people who have strong backgrounds. So a young person from a middle class or lower middle class, they cannot relate themselves to a highly successful businessman because they think only the son or daughter of a very rich businessman can be next businessman, a bit of businesswoman, and only they can get access to quality education in Pakistan or abroad. and that's why they cannot relate to. So that's why they don't even have the hope that they can get to that level. So that's why their narrative, they are not there where they want it to be. It gets even stronger because they see a totally different reality than what they want to be. Like we are telling here young people that you need to be successful because we are under more than 50% in Pakistan. But the problem is most Pakistanis don't know those stories. They don't know that we are living in a world where it does not matter where you come from. What matters is what you are working on. Is that important, and how committed you are in the face of failure and all those things. That's what I think.
Wonderful. And I hope you're checking out the shoes that Rakas had. Those are Marcor. They're available online any day of the week. So, Saif, let me turn to you on education. I mean, if we look at what we're doing already, and a lot is being done in education. We talk about the problem of education in Pakistan. Everybody knows that we have 25 million kids that don't go to school in Pakistan. 25 million kids. It's almost the population of Canada that don't go to school. If we continue doing what we're doing, we will put all the kids to school in 2076. So none of us will be here. And when we look at, it's of course a problem of facilities, of getting to school, but it seems to be a great problem of quality education. Parents will send their kids to school if they think that going to school will give them a better job, more hope. So in Balochistan, the problem is particularly severe. 67% of class 5 kids cannot read a story fluently in Urdu. 72% of them cannot even read one sentence in English. And 76% of kids in Balochistan cannot perform, in class 5, cannot perform a simple 2-digit equation. You've been in government. You're a senator now. What is it that can be done to disrupt education, to get out of this education emergency, to do the leap forward, so we don't have to wait until 2076? I'm going to open a sound company in Pakistan. I'm going to become the richest man in this country just by appropriate sound. I'm going to put you all out of business.
I will invest in
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Closer, the microphone.
The figures you've said, I was aware of the figures. They are very dismal, but let me tell you another fact. I mean, I was in Islamabad yesterday. I've just come to Lahore today. 45,000 children in Islamabad capital are out of school. They haven't gone to school ever. That's a dismal figure. Balochistan, unfortunately, has the worst figures. The government has, in Balochistan, the current coalition government has claimed that they've bumped up the budgetary figures to 24% of the total budget. But if you actually look into the figures, 77 or 78% of that money is salaries only. So that's where the quality comes in. I mean, UNDP has a large footprint in Balochistan, so I'm sure you have all the data with you. It's about prioritizing allocation of resources, and unfortunately, Pakistan, we're all Pakistanis, we know I think the greatest problem I feel, being a parliamentarian and is equality of opportunity. That is one thing that since the inception of this country, we've faced, that's a principle that we've faced, we've failed very badly in that way. We talk about curriculum. I mean, I went to a private school, I went to HSN College here in Lahore. I mean, it creates a different class structure then. So if somebody from my village went to the school in that village and I went here, obviously the difference in opportunities are going to be so much greater. Then we have a problem of curriculum. You have the English educational system, then you have the local educational system, and then the provincial systems are different, so it's not cohesive, it's not linked, it's not integrated. Obviously, and this is what my friend here was saying, we have access to social media and internet now. So somebody sitting in a village in a very dismal state of affairs still has access to all the social media. Everybody's on Facebook these days, and what they see and what they cannot achieve leads to frustration and negativity. And that's, if you open up Facebook today, you see a lot of negativity coming out. You look at your media, breaking news is when there's something sensational going on, or if there's a conspiracy in government, the ratings go up. So that's the general feel, but I'm optimistic. Pakistan is a very resilient nation. I mean, you give them a little bit of hope and a very little amount of opportunity, and I think they can do much greater than anybody else in this world.
So, Gulala, do you want to say anything about the?
I think you leave the mic.
Mine was working.
Okay, it's
when I was testing, mine was working. I think when it comes to education and 25 million children being out of education, I see it a problem of priority. I don't see it a problem of resources.
Yeah.
The population of Pakistan was growing exponentially, but we did not, as a state, we did not plan for it. We did not plan for how to use our young people as a potential. Rather than we are investing our resources on military, we are investing our resources on wars. We have proclaimed ourselves as a security state. I think we need to straight our priorities. We need to prioritize. If we still prioritize war, if we prioritize military, missiles, atomic bombs, then we are not going anywhere. And even if we go with this speed and this quality of education, then even if all children are in school in 2076, 100% of them will be unemployed in 2076. Getting unemployed because our education is not linking them. We are not giving the kind of education which is linked to the market, which is up to date, which is according to our needs. Look at Nergis Mol. I can't spell her last name, but look at Nergis, the woman who was part of the team who discovered gravitational forces of black holes. She was born in Pakistan, but imagine if the same girl was in Pakistan, would she have been able to discover gravitational forces? The answer is clear, no. She would not have been able to find those forces because we don't invest in academia, we don't invest in research, and we also don't invest in women's education. That is another large problem, like women's education is because if 25 million people are out of school, I'm sure 70% of them must be girls who are out of school. And they're out of school because our society has a huge fear with empowered women. I was once in Qatar and I was once in Qatar in an education conference, and the opening was done by Michelle Obama. In her opening speech, she was telling that how important education is, and that is because of education that she was a middle class girl, she was living in a one-room flat, but because of education, she's now in the White House. Later in the meeting, I told her that people are very aware about the power of education. People are very aware that what education can do to women, and that is exactly the reason they don't send girls to the school. They know that a girl will become empowered. They know she will have a voice. They don't want people who have voice. And when it comes to women, no. They don't want women who have voices. So we need to change our priorities. We need to change our mindsets. The state should be willing to have citizens which are aware, which are critical, who are able to raise their voices.
Very good. My driver was telling me on the way here that in his village, the joke is that, you know, our kids cannot go to school. We need to drive like 200 kilometers to get to a proper hospital. We have no electricity, gas load shedding, but we can go to China. So, so I thought that was quite interesting when it came to priority setting. Wonderful. So, Waqas, let me turn to the issue of employment. You've been an amazing entrepreneur here. We've calculated that every year, 4 million people enter the workforce in Pakistan. Pakistan will need to create 1.5 million additional jobs every year until 2035 to cater for these young people. That's a lot of jobs, and you cannot, there's a limit of how many chokidars you can establish. And the challenge is really to not only create jobs, but support people that will create jobs, like Waqas. So I wanted to get your experience. What kind of support did you get to establish Marcor? What kind of support do you think young people would need to replicate what you have accomplished?
I think it starts with the strong feeling that you need to do that. You need to do something. So that is the first step. I think more young people who wants to do something in business and they're actually fields in arts and education, they first need to know like, is that really important? They want to spend their whole life on that. And after like, even when the answer is no, you have to just keep going. And the second is conventional education will help you, but the world is changing so fast these days, conventional education only will not help you. So you have to really good at learning. So you need to also learn how to learn best and how to learn fast. That is also like a really good skill set young people, fortunately in Pakistan, have. Pakistanis are very good at changing. They even don't know about that, about themselves that. Pakistanis are good at when they have to change. They are willing to change, but they are afraid of different things. So I think the willingness to change and willingness to learn really fast. The second thing is having a strong network, a really good mentor, or having an association in your school. Like this is a classic problem with the young people in Pakistan when people ask me like, what young people really need. What they need is they want to have something they can relate to. Like if I'm a guy from a small village or small town, I'm no one. If I'm a member of my local college environment network, I'm something. So people need to feel like they are more than just single individual. They're part of a larger society. They're part of a larger club. Unfortunately, the nationalism which we talk in Pakistan strongly has failed. Like several states, people don't relate themselves to be like, we are Pakistani, I can be successful. But they can relate to that. If he's from same village where I am from, if he or she can be successful, I can be successful as well. So having that strong relatedness and then working on top of that with the help of mentors, with the help of people who have done that, reaching out to them and then doing it again and again. The second thing which happens once you start something, people expect that things will go fine in just after working for 6 months or 1 year, everything will be fine. It does not work that way. You have to be willing to invest for a long period of time. Many people who have started companies in Pakistan, non-profits in Pakistan, they didn't do it in 1 day or in 1 year, in 2 years. They did that over the course of a decade, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So I think we need to have that long-term vision in young people, which can be brought through education and then strong mentorship. And I think we need to have more clubs, just like this Lahore Creative Festival, which is a great club actually.
It's a great club.
Everyone feels great when they are here because they can see other successful people are here. So,
and did you get help from the government in expanding Marcor? And is there something that the government did that you feel was really positive for you?
It's amazing actually. Many people don't know. Government does a lot of great things as well. When we had no office in Lahore, when I came in Lahore after dropping out of college, and I had no place where we can open.
You dropped out of college?
Yeah, I dropped out of college.
Wow.
But I don't recommend that. The thing is, we were supported by Punjab government. They have an initiative called PITB incubator called Plan 9. They gave us office space and initial stipend for 6 months, and that support was very
excellent.
I mean, it was kind of ambulance for us. It literally saved us. On top of that, it also depends on you how much you are willing to get something, some help from a mentor or a connection. So you have to follow up. You have to keep knocking on the door until you get a message, until what you want to hear. So I think government have many initiatives. One thing which I see is they have a lot of support now for startup ecosystem in Pakistan. That is a great initiative, but we need to have similar programs for other disciplines like arts, sports, and Sana was saying that now they have more than one department for professional women playing cricket. So I think we are seeing smaller steps going into the right direction. We need to have more of these steps.
Wonderful. Gulala, you've been working a lot in trying to empower women to find jobs, to create businesses as well. In Peshawar, what is your recommendation in terms of what the government and others can do to get more businesses going, especially for women?
Many organizations across Pakistan are working on economic empowerment of women. And one thing we realized while working on economic empowerment with women, that many organizations and many people see the issue of economic empowerment as women, they think that women are not earning because they don't have a sewing machine. And if we start a program in which we will give them sewing machines, they will start stitching and they will become economically empowered. I think that is one of the biggest problem in seeing the whole issue of economic empowerment of women. From our work, we have found out that women are not economically empowered because number one, they don't have access to capital, they don't have access to resources, they don't have access to markets, they have mobility issues, we have gender discriminations, and without addressing gender discriminations, without making workplaces safer for women, and without having unions of women workers, it's really difficult to economically empower women, because we can't do it in isolation. It has to be linked with social empowerment, it has to be linked with political empowerment of women, and for that, one of the things which we did in Peshawar, we started in Peshawar, was that we started building a union of domestic workers. Now, domestic workers are part of the labor force, but we don't have any laws which recognize them as workers or which recognize their rights. So without having that systems which protect your working rights, you are at a very vulnerable position. So we started building unions of domestic workers, and now we started giving them leadership skills so that they can ask for their own rights from the government rather than we going for them. They should go for themselves. So we have established a domestic workers union, and now they are advocating for a law. So that is how we do economic empowerment. We give them platforms and tools through which they can have more access to market, through which they are more access to resources, and so that the workplace is much safer for women.
So, motorcycles, not sewing machines.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And sexual harassment laws, not restricted women in Chardiwali, having sexual harassment laws in the working places, having laws which ensure that every company must hire women, and then not only hiring, but we work with, when we started establishing domestic workers union, we also started working with factories, with industries, and we realized that almost all factories, organizations, they are hiring women only on lower positions. They are not willing to hire women on higher positions where they can have good facilities and good income. They like to hire women just on the most lower positions.
Anti-harassment practices in companies is quite important. In our experience in Karachi, those companies who had such policies recruited more women. I mean, Saif, let me ask you one quick question. 60% of young Pakistanis are either in unstable, low-paid job or are domestic, or working at home with no pay. That's quite severe. What do you think is the role of government, and what do you think needs to be done?
I think, and if you take Balochistan as an example, over there most people want to get a government job, which is not a very good state of affairs. Essentially, we lack private investment over there. But if you look at Parliament in terms of legislation, I was hearing Mulala here, we have passed the domestic workers bill. They have for their rights, and it's gone through the Senate. It's still pending in the National Assembly. They're much slower than we are in terms of legislation. And then we have the protection of women from harassment at work, which has passed through the Senate, still pending in the National Assembly. So those are two pieces of legislation which deal with the sort of issues that we face in society over here. Unstable, obviously there will be, we've been living in a war-torn country, and we don't realize that we're living in a war-torn country for the last decade and a half. Some of the areas in this country have not directly been affected by it, but I'm sure Gulali knows and I know, Peshawar and Quetta have been devastated by the influx of refugees for the last 35 years. Pakistan hosts the largest number of refugees any country in the world, and we don't really get much appreciation for that internationally. We tried our best to secure our borders. We have the largest drug trade, the drug route coming in from Afghanistan and Iran. I mean, these are large borders, they're war-torn, they have been in conflict for the last 35 years. And obviously that has affected society in many ways over here in Pakistan, the youth. I mean, we've had people going from here to Afghanistan for jihad, and also, all these things have really contributed a lot to the negativity in society.
Right. Good. Let's pass to this issue of engagement. And I mean, one of the things that comes up. I was reading one of our lead authors for human development, and he was writing that young people in Pakistan are not allowed to be young. Yeah? They are engaged in a lot of other things that are in the world of adults very, very quickly. And everywhere around the world, sports, Sana, is an amazing way of being young, but it's also a vehicle to all sorts of skills, collaboration. It's a vehicle for civic education. And when we surveyed young people, they say 90% of young people in Pakistan do not have access to formal sports grounds. And if you go into the rural areas of Pakistan, there's no sports grounds for young people, and even in the city. So Sana, what has been your experience? How did you start playing cricket, and what do you think is missing?
I started playing cricket on the streets. There were no playgrounds, especially for girls. There was nothing. Even in the school, when there was recess time and it was time to do some sports, the whole ground was occupied by the boys. So there was not much the girls could do. It was just a lonely table tennis table at one corner that you could do. So I think the community centers have been to a lot of other countries, and what I've seen that there are a lot of community centers where everyone can go connect, do sports and things like that. I think watching the kind of progress in our government, that looks very far away at the moment. But what needs to be done is, I think, most effectively and most quickly, that we turn our schools into playing fields as well. Like, not turning our schools, but the schools should have sporting facilities. At the moment, the government schools do not have a lot of resources. That even the teachers don't come to school at times. And the private sector schools there are a lot of schools who are open in houses. So how are you going to produce all-round people? How are you going to produce how are you going to give them that practical experience that they can get it from sports? Like for tolerance and education, we are talking about, like on my team, we have got Christians girls, we have got Shia girls, we have got Sunni girls, but we don't look each other like that. We are just Pakistanis going out there and playing for our country. So I think that is something that sports does to you. You don't look anyone as a Lahori or a Mahajir or a Punjabi or a Sindhi. We are Pakistanis. We go out there, play for our country, work hard. So I think sports, entertainment, arts, all these things are above these regional things. So we need to focus on them a lot.
Wonderful. Please go ahead.
Even in schools which have cricket grounds, I have seen that we teach home economics as extracurricular activity to girls rather than sports as an extracurricular activity. So that we also need to bring shift that we, like in boys schools we have computer science and sports, while the same branch for girls will teach home economics. So we also need to change that paradigm.
What is home economics?
Teaching girls how to handle homes.
Wow.
And economics of homes, how to be good cooks, how to make nice bed sheets.
Yeah, I need a course on that. And I think one of the things, Sana, you said about there seems to be very few programs in Pakistan that bring Sindhis to Peshawar and Baloch to Punjab. There's very few. We don't have data on this, but there seems to be a lot of indication that there are very few exchanges between provinces. Other countries have mechanisms to allow for these kind of either school exchanges, volunteership that build civic education. So I think, and sports I think is a great way of bringing people together.
Because we are talking about the youth, we are talking about the young generation, and I think they spend most of their time in the institutes like school, colleges, universities. And what we were talking about, the sexual harassment bill, I think we should also focus on child protection laws, because at a very young age we need to put. I've been talking about it a lot in inside BCP to this Chief Minister Lahore as well, that the child protection, whether someone is coaching a player in sports under 18 or in schools. We need to have child protection laws, because that's the way you can protect your youth, and then they will not turn into animals afterwards.
Gulala, I want to talk to you one other facet of what's transforming. PTI understood this very quickly, is that voters are now younger than ever, and they will form the majority of voters. And at the last election, 4 out of 5 young people went to vote. You remember all these long lines of people, a lot of women, a lot of young people. I was extremely encouraged, and it gave me so much hope. But then when you ask young people, do you trust politicians? Only 20% of young people have any sort of trust in politicians. Saif, I'm coming to you. So, Gulala, you've worked a lot on encouraging, in particular women, political participation, political engagement, organizing their communities. Why do you think that's so important, and what's the lesson to the political system that you have from your experience here?
One thing, people, as the research say, only 25% of people
24, yeah.
where they trust their politicians. The whole problem, 100% of the problem does not lie in politicians. A huge problem lies in our establishment, who have been portraying politicians as corrupt, as negative people, as really bad people. Our media has been doing a lot that to politicians. There has been strategic efforts to portray politicians as really bad people so that dictatorships can survive. So the problem of the trust between citizens and politicians lies in dictatorship in Pakistan. And for that, to rebuild the trust between politicians and the citizens, we really need to work on strengthening democracy. And that is one of the work I'm doing, to strengthen democracy. And I do that by engaging, by promoting civic engagement of people in the communities, especially increasing civic engagement of women. We have done a lot of things on that. Number one, we heard a lot from political parties. When we engage with political parties, we hear from them that they don't engage women because women don't have political leadership skills. So one of the things we have been doing, I don't agree on that, but one of the things we are doing is that we do political leadership skills training with young women so that they can be equipped with political leadership skills and can participate in civic and political processes. Number two, we organize dialogues for them with the political parties. And with that, the political parties get an opportunity to see how young women in their communities are actually very much interested in political processes, and they're actually following the political parties, and they are following the political process of the countries. And that dialogues, they are educational for both the young women and for both political parties, because women in the communities, they also get to know that, okay, political parties exist, political leaders exist, and there are actually channels through which they can access them. Another thing which we did is that to make sure that women participate in civic and political processes, it is very important to have a conducive environment for them. So we also work on sensitizing communities. We do dialogues with communities. We do documentary screenings with communities so that the mindset can be changed, which hinder participation of women in civic and political processes. Another important thing which we have done to bring together politicians and citizens is that we started establishing citizens committees. And we started it from Bardan and Sawabi, which are rural districts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. We established citizens committees. These are committees of people, of citizens like journalists, civil society activists, influential people, young women activists. And these committees, they develop their own citizens' charter of demand, what they expect from their political leaders. This is what Citizen Charter of Demand is about, and we regularly organize dialogues for them. Now, these citizens committees are acting as a bridge between citizens and between the political parties.
Very good.
So these are the kind of things we're doing. And because of the work, we have been, I started working on increasing women's political leadership skills around 2008. And in 2013, when elections were happening, general elections were happening in Pakistan, we decided that we will monitor, we as young women, we will monitor the elections, and we will see that what are the kind of challenges women face on the day of election. what hinders their political electoral participation, and what forces them to how they decide for whom they should vote. So we decided to establish a team of 100 young women. When we decided that, we thought we won't be able to do it because election monitoring is actually a very tough job. And if you're an election observer or monitor, it means you have to be at the polling station at 6 a.m. and you may stay in the polling station till midnight or even after midnight till the counting finishes. And working and doing election monitoring in rural areas of Pakistan where mobility of young women is restricted, where the culture is gender segregated, it sounds very difficult. But actually we received around 500 applications from all those young women whom we have been engaging in the programs. And when these young women, when their parents told them that no, it's a very tough job and you cannot stay longer, they actually stood to their parents and they told them no. This is the day we have to stand for our right. We will go to the polling stations and we will do the monitoring. And that was a fabulous day when 100 women actually went to different polling stations and monitored. And when we established the citizens committees, it was actually on the basis of the recommendation of young women because they thought there is a greater disconnect between citizens and politicians. So that is why we were
When are you running for election?
I'm planning to empower more young women and create platforms for younger women so that they can run for elections. And actually in local elections, 20 young women who were trained by Aware Girls, they stood in they ran for the elections and they won their seats actually.
So we'll see her on a poster soon, I'm sure. Bakas, you wanted to say something and then Saif.
We talked about Pakistanis, young people don't trust their politician. I believe the reason for that is in order for you to trust, you have to first doubt something. We are used to of a system where we have politicians who inspire us through their slogans, not through their action. They inspire us through their fake promises of impossibles. And young people, without thinking, believe into that. So that's why I believe their belief is not as strong. So why young people believe in these politicians, why they vote to those politicians which they don't believe? Because our education system, and so education is where you get how to think. The second thing where you learn about the politics is through media and newspapers. Unfortunately, our media don't make people think. Our system, whole information system is designed towards making people this is wrong and this is right, instead of making young people think what is right and what is wrong. So that's why they go out to vote, because that's what they feel they need to. But they don't believe in the people they are voting.
Good.
So that's what I think. We need to have people think through, doubt your actions, doubt the actions and doubt the statements of the politician and question them. That's how we will have quality politicians, hopefully like Saf.
I disagree on the notion that politicians make fake promises. I'm not a politician, but believe me, working with political parties, working with citizens like for around 10 years, I think they should not take promises. If I see just my province, in last government, in last 5 years, more than 15 universities were established. It was not done in the 70 years of Pakistan, but when just for 5 years, democracy was given a chance. Institutions were built, institutions were strengthened, universities were built. So I think it's not that they are making fake promises. There is, young people don't trust politicians because politicians are not given a chance. Democracy is not given a chance in Pakistan. That is a basic issue.
Very good. So I'm getting pressed on time, but Saif, can young politicians do more for young voters?
I'm not so sure, but the 24% figure makes me the most unpopular one over here right now. But hearing those two gives you back the confidence. I think most people don't know how Parliament works, and most people don't really equate Parliament as the bastion of power from where they're going to get service delivery in this country. So we're always looking to alternatives, and that's been a culture over here. Parliament itself has not really done a lot to propagate itself as where solutions are going to be found for the common man. I mean, certainly we have a lot of legislation that we pass. There's a lot of good quality legislation. We have a lot of legislators who actually do give time out and work. Parliament has increasing powers in terms of the standing committees. I mean, it's the same thing. We have to give democracy a chance to transition itself into becoming better. I mean, if you stop it, you're going to, again, if we want to change our political leadership, you'll have to let them face the public again and again, and the public will eventually vote them out. That's what I tell my father. You have been in this country for 35 years. Let us have a chance, the young people to come in, and things will change.
Very good. One last question before we pass to questions from all of you. So prepare them. We won't have the chance for many. But I'm from Canada, and in Canada it's so difficult to get young people to engage in politics. In Pakistan, very easy. It's incredible how young people are engaged into the political debate, and I think that's also a source of great hope. Musamil, in our survey, national survey, 75% of young people did not approve of non-Muslims' right to preach their faith. Incredible numbers that reflect some degree of intolerance in society. You've been working quite a bit in using social media to promote tolerance, to promote diversity. Does these numbers scare you? What do you think can be done to counter that?
They don't scare me. I mean, I can understand Pakistani population being like that. But when it comes to solutions, I mean, it's important to know what the solution is, right? It scares people when they think about all so many millions and millions of people in the rural areas who you can probably never reach, who you can probably never really change the way they think, the way they deal with different people, or the way they have opinions about minorities. In my personal opinion, and I think a lot of you will agree with me, tolerance has a lot to do with dialogue. It has a lot to do with how you, when you meet people, when you actually see what they are. The reason why the numbers are so high is because these guys are sheltered. You have a 99% Muslim population, which is completely sheltered from everyone else. Everything that they know about anyone other than themselves is based on either their local mosque or some sort of a newspaper that is run by someone who has some sort of such ideas. When it comes to social media or digital as a whole, I'll give you a few statistics. So Pakistan back in 2013 had 11 million internet users. Today Pakistan has 40 million internet users. 5 years from now Pakistan will have 120 million estimated internet users. That's like 50% of your entire population. And these new almost what 30 million new users, they're not your average middle class individuals. They're from all classes. They're your chowkidars, they're your kid sitting in a rural area who's suddenly on Facebook for the first time in his life, who's suddenly on YouTube for the first time in his life, and now you actually have access to people who you would never imagine having access to, who would probably never leave their villages for the rest of their entire lives. And you can actually start changing the way they perceive, the way they see things. So you actually have a mechanism to start that dialogue. And it's important to understand that and actually start working towards a dialogue process where you can actually, and it's not even, I think one of the major things in Pakistan is we actually, the uneducated class freely talks about, talks about hatred, for example, talks about intolerance. But when it comes to the educated class, we're always very worried. When a Shia and a Sunni is sitting together and a third person comes up and starts talking about Shiaism, you get really iffy as to why we're talking about this right now. And I think that's one of the major reasons. Like, we need to start talking about, most of the people, when there's intolerance, they don't even know what the other side is like. Yeah. They're just basing their ideas based on the idea that the other person is different. So how about we start talking about, minorities, about what, rather than talk about their rights, rather than enforcing the rights, let's talk about what minorities are. Let's talk about what they're like, what they do, if they pray, how do they even pray? It's not that different.
Very good.
So that's the sort of engagement and sort of dialogue, I guess, that's necessary.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Gulala, you've done a lot of work on this up in KP. Do you want to say a few words before I pass to the audience?
Yeah. A state is like a mother. Imagine a mother having 10 children, having different religions. And then imagine a mother says that I will only adopt one religion. and I am kind of disowning, because this home will be ruled by one religion. So the religion of 9 children is automatically disowned. They will become, the 9 children will become marginalized and become vulnerable. Same happened in Pakistan. In Pakistan we have huge religious diversity, but our state is not a secular state. It decided to become an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. It has owned only one religion. The core problem of intolerance, is having a non-secular state, a state owning one religion and a state promising to promote only one kind of religion. We cannot dream of equality in this country until the day Prime Minister and President can be any person of any religion. If Pakistan as a policy, it says my citizen who is Hindu cannot become Prime Minister, my citizen who is Christian cannot become a president, then forget about these surveys. I work on countering violent extremism with young people. We did a survey with young people, and in the survey there was one question, and we asked your opinion on the murder of Salman Taseer. This survey was done with educated people of universities. I was shocked to see the results. 80% of the people who were surveyed, they said it was a very right decision of Mumtaz Qadri to kill Salman Taseer. I was shocked what kind of youth in universities we are upbringing. And then when we go back to the curriculum, who are our heroes? Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi, who attacked on mandirs 17 times, who destroyed mandirs, who stolen money from mandirs, from Hindu religious places 17 times. Muhammad bin Qasim, who destroyed a mandir. So I am going to a school and I am learning that heroism means go and destroy a church. Heroism is go and destroy a mandir. So when I will come out of the school, I will go and I will destroy a mandir. I will not become a peaceful citizen.
Well, I don't know about you, but they gave me quite a bit of energy, so I hope you have a bit of it. We have a few minutes for like 3 questions, but I don't know about the sound. Is this going to work? Really? Okay, so I'm going to take 3 questions, and I hope I don't need to remind you all of what a question is. It's not a statement, it's a short sentence that ends with a question mark. So no speeches, no statements, I only want questions, and if not, I'm going to cut you. So, young man there, you, and I'm going to take one in the little hand there. Yeah. So let's start here.
Thank you. So I have 2 daughters, and I'm looking at you specifically. How do you think that you are not an exception, and our girls, especially my girls, can become like you?
Good. So please, and then we'll take a third, and we'll come back to all of you. I think the question was for Sana. Yes? Please. Microphone. Let's take the 3 of them and we'll come back to you. I think it's going to be just more efficient, if that's okay with all of you. Yes?
Okay, my question is for Gulalai. I just want to know what were the supporting forces that helped you come this far?
Good. In the middle there, young man.
Assalamualaikum. I specifically have a question for Saif. Basically, you mentioned that you studied at HSN, so I wanted to say that we all know that HSonians are, most of them, or at least some of them, are bound to become politicians. So, and we see that they're from a background where they can afford this education and where they can afford to become politicians. So I don't see how they would be that willing to give up their positions of power and to see younger people, or at least people who don't have strong political backgrounds, come into positions of power where they can empower the youth of Pakistan. So if you'd have anything to say about that.
Very good question, young lady. I'll take one more on this side there. Yes. Yes, but if we have time, we'll come back to Balochistan.
My question is from Muzammil. We talk about becoming heroes and changing the world, but there are various frameworks within our society that confine us from doing what we want to do. Political, social, economic, and religious frameworks. How do you believe we can get rid of these frameworks in order to become heroes?
Wonderful. So I'm going to answer if we have time. We're coming back there. Sana.
I think it's getting easier day by day, and I hope, first of all, I hope that your daughter becomes better than I am, and hopefully they can, your sister, daughter, whoever you're referring to, can bring more glory to Pakistan, because our country needs this. We owe this to our country. And as far as cricket is concerned, picking up cricket and living a life as a female cricketer, I think it's much easier now than it was 10 years back, because we have now got under 17 academies going on, we have got school cricket going on, we have got now school cricket in colleges, and now we have got Pakistan A team, the international team. So I think it's much easier to take up cricket as a sport now than it was 10 years back. So, and one thing more, that my father has played a huge role in who I am today, and my brother has played a huge role in who I is going to be very important for the girls around you. Thank you.
Wonderful. She's the 6th ranked ODI bowler, so it's not going to be easy. Gulalai, your question.
There were different supportive and challenging factors which made me what I am. The very first one was my mother. My mother was the only and first entrepreneur of our village. But my mother was not celebrated for her entrepreneurship and for her business. She was celebrated for a very silent woman. If she would face violence in her home, she won't speak about it. And other women usually whine about violence when they face. So my mother was very much celebrated for, wow, what a role model woman she is. She does not speak when her husband fights with her. And that is what really pinched me. And from my very childhood, the idea of growing up was to become like my father, not to become like my mother, because I knew my mother, though she earns money, but I knew she was not empowered even with earning money. So my idea of growing up was always like becoming my father. My father changed, my father took a U-turn kind of. He was politically active, but we come from a lower caste or from lower class, so we were thrown out of the village by the landlords because my father was very active politically, and we came to Peshawar. My father became very active in human rights, and they changed the whole dynamics of our family. And then my father taught me one thing, that culture should never be an excuse for human rights abusers, and you never should stay silent. And my family taught me, don't be afraid of the consequences, but speak up whenever there is an injustice, speak up about it. So a lot of my support comes from my family, and I think if you analyze all women heroes, most women heroes of Pakistan, like let's take Malala, take Shad Begum, take Khalda Brohi, these women heroes, you will find that at the back of all of them, there was a very supportive family who supported them.
Thank you. Saif, speaking about landowners.
I get the tough questions. Well, Imran Khan is also from HSN, so I'm not the only one, and he's increasingly popular.
Put it very close to your mouth.
Yes, you're right. The traditional structures that we have since the inception of this country, where there's certain families, there's certain backgrounds that are essentially required for somebody to get active into politics, but I don't think that's an increasing trend in Pakistan. I think that's a decreasing trend in Pakistan. And with the society which is becoming increasingly more aware, there is a lot of pressure on traditional politicians to actually deliver services. And I think if they won't, and they're increasingly going to be voted out of power. And if you come to Parliament, I'm extending an invite to the young girl who asked me this question, and you come and see how the National Assembly and the Senate sessions work. If you look at the people who are there, most of them are now from the middle class, and they have been voted into power by their communities, and that is an increasing trend, I think, which is a positive for democracy in Pakistan.
Muzammil, the last words. You give the other. Yeah.
Hello. So I think it's really important for people to sort of understand, that's something that I guess Granai was talking about as well, to understand culture and religion are two separate things. And what we in Pakistan do quite a lot is we mix a lot of our social norms and our social cultures and sort of blend that or sell it in terms of religion. This is what the religion tells you. If you think about, the constraints that would stop you from being a hero, what would those constraints be? There would be probably gender-based constraints or some other form of constraints that are purely and 100% cultural. If you want to see heroes,
Don't worry. Carry on.
if you want to see heroes, there are a bunch of heroes in the Muslim world, and both from women as well as men. And you should look at places like Turkey. You should look at places like Indonesia or Malaysia or Bangladesh, for example. Both of their presidential candidates are women. Again, there were societies that actually overcame those cultural social norms and did not let religion sort of put them down. Now, I would agree with Gullalai on one thing. One of the things that she said was that Pakistan needs to become a secular state. That's a very dictatorial sort of an opinion, in my personal opinion, because when you have an entire majority that supports the notion of being a Muslim state, let that be. What's more important is to sort of understand what religion actually preaches. Religious tolerance has been there in Islam. Religious tolerance has been there from the very beginning. It is the cultural norm that has destroyed that. So it's important to, when you talk about solutions, you can't have a solution like, oh, let's go secular. Nobody's gonna allow that. A lot of people are gonna die while we achieve that. Let's talk about trying to understand religion in the first place. And when you come up with, when you say something like the sort of like, how do you overcome these religious constraints? Again, it's understanding the religion. How many of us have actually read the book that 99% of us believe in? We have not. We read it in Arabic and we feel really good about it. But how many of us have actually been reading it in Urdu? And this is a Lahore Literary Festival. Can I see a raise of hands of people who have read the entire Quran and its translation?
Very good. Thank you. I mean,
proves my point.
Here's a very basic principle of democracy, because I teach democracy to young women. One of the basic principles of democracy, that democracy is not about whatever the majority says right. No, democracy is about having a decision which majority wants, but you cannot do anything which goes against the human rights of other citizens. And having a non-secular state is actually against the human rights of other young people, other human beings.
I mean, I think what this shows is that the conversation needs to continue. And that I don't think you disagree with each other, you're just, but I think there's a lot of room for disagreement and a lot of room for debate and dialogue. And I hope this was a taste of all this energy, vision, and a lot of hope for Pakistan that these five people brought to you today. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. A big round of applause for the five of them. And I need to plug, of course, our report. We're going to get out in a few months, our National Human Development Report on Youth, where the conversation will continue exactly on those issues. Thank you so much for making me feel young, making them feel young, and giving all of us a lot of hope for Pakistan. Pakistan Zindabad.